And welcome everyone to another Intentional Success webinar. Today we're going to talk about how to make a clean start with express marketing. Yes, we're going to talk about marketing, but we're also going to talk about doing it fast and doing it on the cheap because that's the times we're in right now. Our marketplace has kind of been a turmoil. Your business has been evolving and changing, and you're trying stuff and you're trying new stuff and then you're trying new stuff after that. How do you keep up with marketing? And I'm going to give you some great tips to get you there faster, help you better understand what it is that your marketing is doing for you so that it can do the things that you need it to do intentionally, as is always my theme. So for those of you who are new, I am Tom Stimson. I'm founder of Stimson Group. I also generate the Intentional Success newsletters that you will be getting on Monday morning if you've just signed up for this webinar. I have a community platform called Intentional Success that goes along with that. You are welcome to join. It is free, no obligation. Come on in, hang out. I'm also the creator of the Jumpstart Workshops, and we have a Jumpstart Workshop starting next week that I will love to talk to you about here at the end of this webinar. So let's get down to, well, why are we actually having this webinar? I mean, what's this all about? This photograph, you should be having a visceral response right now. We are many, many months into this pandemic, and maybe not all industry people, but anybody outside of our industry will look at this image and they will see a couple of things that jump out at them. One, everybody's sitting much too close. The room is much too tightly packed and no one's wearing a mask. This event doesn't exist anymore. It may be back one day and we can talk about that, but right now it currently doesn't exist. We don't know when it's coming back, and that is getting in the way of our marketing message. But I want to give you a little bit of hope here, because even though we are in turmoil and the work that we've traditionally done may be on hiatus, in a down economy, there's an opportunity to grab market share. Because while your business may be idle, that doesn't mean you need to be idle. You can be grabbing new types of business, making new service offerings and new product offerings, and grabbing customers that other people are ignoring or underserving. So any down economy is a great time to grab market share, because when the economy comes back, those will be your customers. So do what you can for them now so that we can have those customers later on. So if what you do is no longer in demand, how are you going to gain market share? All right. How are we going to be relevant now? If your old message was, look at all the types of events that we do, and your new message is, oh, but we also do streaming events where we can stream your meeting, these two messages on the same page have a problem. Okay? We need to retool our messages. The big problem is that your old message is getting in the way of your new message, and there's a reason for that. You love your old message. You love everything about it. You love every picture on your website that talks about how you used to do things, and that's part of the problem. You desperately want it to come back, and I don't blame you for that for 1 minute. Nothing replaces an in-person event. Let me be clear. But no amount of reminding people of this fact will change where we are today or where we're going to be next week. And frankly, that's not where your customer is right now, because they're not suffering a personal loss because of a lack of an in-person event. Okay? They're missing out on something, but everybody else is missing out on it too. So maybe you can afford in your business right now to wait things out, but your customer can't afford to wait. They have communication needs now. They have conferences that they need to hold now. They have events that they need to move online now. And they are looking for suppliers that have what they need right now. Okay? When they go to your website and see the old message, they know you're not committed. And honestly, it is. It's all over your websites. It's also in your social media posts. This is a composite that I see, 4 or 5 times a day on LinkedIn. I can't wait until we do this again with a picture of a big event. Okay, usually some entertainment in there, lots of people, shiny lights, LED walls. We as an industry are in mourning. Right? I get it. I understand the sentiment in this. I understand the lament that this message has. This may help you with the morning process, but it is not helping your business, and it's definitely not helping the customer. What this tells me is that your heart is in the past and not in my reality as a customer. And frankly, this is what you sound like. I'm not over my old girlfriend yet, but yeah, let's go ahead and do that wedding thing that we talked about. Put your own labels on this picture any way that you want. Big arena events and the new streaming reality, whatever you want to call it. The fact is, we've got to change what customers perceive us to be thinking. So we're going to focus on the now, right? We're going to market the company that you need to be to the customer that needs you. We're going to make a connection. You both have needs. Let's figure out how we can solve this, because we can't solve the problem about having in-person meetings. And these people do need you. Unfortunately, I'm getting some calls for doing keynote presentations. Several of them are coming up, several are in discussion. And let me tell you that not one of the organizers I've spoken with is prepared for what they are trying to do. For most of them, this is the first streaming event that they are doing. Just because we are 6 months into streaming as a primary focus doesn't mean your customers have 6 months under their belt. Many of them are doing their first event right now, and they're totally unprepared. They don't understand the realities of it. They think anybody can just hop onto Zoom and do a meeting, even if they don't have a Zoom license. They're very confused about what the possibilities are, and we've got to help them, right? Marketing is about meeting your customer where they are, and I've been saying this all through the pandemic, going back to the first webinars in March, when the pandemic became the topic of the month or the day. Meet your customer where they are. Because if you want to do live events next year, maybe Q3, somebody asked me later about when that's going to happen, then you really need to be grabbing market share right now. Find and keep clients now, because if you don't, those clients will be somebody else's client in someone else's care when in-person events come back. And now you're having to fight to get a customer away from someone. It's easier to keep a customer than it is to win a customer. And it's easier to win a customer when our market is in flux and they are looking around. All we have to do is get the right marketing in front of them. Now, your next prospect, whoever they might be, is somewhere on this journey. They're not on the same journey that you're on. They're on their own journey. They're probably just canceled the event that they were going to have at the fourth quarter of this year because they finally realized they can't do it. Okay? Maybe they're trying to replace some things with Zoom. It's not highly profitable, lucrative business, but if we can help them do that, that would be important. Maybe there's a Zoom conference in their future, or maybe they have a global expo they need to accommodate with a big users group. Okay? Hopefully they want to go back to doing events one day, but that will probably be a hybrid event where streaming and the in-person event happen in parallel, if not actually in tandem. Now, what we need to look at today is where can we start helping? And my point to you in this webinar is that if you don't start helping people at their most basic need level, which is just make Zoom work or whatever platform they're using, okay, you won't be in their sights when it's time to do that awesome hybrid event. Okay? And you want to do the hybrid event, but you want to be able to do both sides of it, the in-person and the streaming part of it. By splitting those up, you're risking another supplier taking that whole event. Streaming events are going to be with us for a while. Figure out where you fit into it, because I don't know how we're going to survive without it. So back to the webinar. We know why we're having the webinar. How do we get our marketing message relevant sooner? And I just want to give you some fast, hopefully easy steps. If you've been involved in your marketing at all, these won't sound like they're very high orders of difficulty. If you've never been involved in your marketing and you don't know who it was that built your website and you can't find them, then you've got some other problems that we need to solve. But these are pretty easy things, Number one, I'm going to ask you to trim your website. Now, I know your heart just stopped a little bit because you took years building that website and making it rich and full of things. And meeting every constituent's needs with tabs and pages and images and downloads. And you know what? There's some stuff on there that needs to go. Now, I know these things, but I also took the time to look at many, many, many industry websites this past week to make sure that I wasn't giving you a webinar that wasn't relevant and timely. Guess what? It's really relevant and it's very timely. Here's some things that need to go. 90% of the imagery on your website right now is pre-pandemic, and it doesn't speak well of where your mind is, where your business is today. Okay, the big arena ballroom festival pics are not relevant right now. You want to be using imagery right now that conveys your ability to produce in the streaming world or augment the streaming world or whatever you do that makes money now. That's what you need to be focused and representative of. What you used to do doesn't help what you do right now. You need to have pictures of people wearing masks and doing social distancing. Instead of putting pictures in here, oh, here's a picture pre-pandemic, that's why we're not wearing a mask, right? We've got to get rid of all that stuff. We have a reality right now that we can talk about. There's some other things that need to go. Many of you updated your website. We said, hey, we can support streaming events, convert your event to a streaming event or an online event or a virtual event. Good for you, awesome. Don't discount that at all. That was a very important, valuable step to make. It is time to go back and fix the stuff that we put up back in March, April, and May. You have pictures on your website of crews substituting for talent. And you know what they look like? They look like crews substituting for talent. They look like you hadn't done an event yet. And so we just grabbed the people that were around there and we put them on the stage wearing a headset, like we were doing a lighting check. You've got your studio set up. You've got a client coming in next week. Either get permission from them to take photographs that you can use on your website or stage some actors, send your crew home, tell them to dress up, bring your relatives in, get some people appropriately, coiffed for a business event and put them into your scenic environment. You also have pictures of tech crew doing tech stuff. Show more images of what the talent experience is. We're not hiring techs. We're creating an environment where I'm going to present something to an audience and I'm probably scared to death. How can you make me feel comfortable? I don't understand what the tech is doing. But you show a presenter standing on the stage reading a monitor or reading a teleprompter, okay? Now that helps me feel a little bit more comfortable about what I might get if I work with you. Pictures of equipment are kind of a non-starter. I like gear. I don't understand what most of the equipment in your photographs does. And if I don't get it, your client certainly doesn't get it. It just intimidates them. The time to show pictures of equipment is when you're explaining what it does and why it's absolutely important to help people reach their goals, right? I know we're gearheads. That doesn't mean our clients are, and our clients have enough technology overwhelming them right now, just getting their heads around how streaming is going to work, how doing a meeting online is going to work. Don't confuse them further with equipment. Now, some other things that need to go, these are just bonuses. We still have a lot of request a quote buttons out there. Lots of pop-ups saying, hey, tell us what you need. You've also all told me that your clients have no idea what they need. So I'm suggesting you get rid of these things. Better yet, replace them with a call to action that is much more relevant. Tell us about your event. Request a consultation. Speak with a producer. These are the kinds of things that might make sense to somebody who's trying to assess whether or not they need to be doing business with you as they wander into the scary world of doing virtual events. And another thing that you might want to double check yourself on is that you aren't suggesting that streaming or virtual is temporary or somehow not a real event, because to our customers, they are extremely real. The fact that we don't get to load a truck and push a bunch of road boxes across carpet doesn't make it less real for our customers. It just changes what our reality is, not theirs. Now, here's some things you can do on your website. because I probably just eliminated 50% of what's on your website right now. You need some case studies, not boring 5-page PDF case studies. You need little snippets. What's the latest in platform developments? Here's what you can do in a platform that does this. Or here's a challenge and here's how you get around it. Or maybe just a simple drawing that explains where all the signals come from and how do we get this to happen. Think about what they are experiencing right now. I do lots of online events, and we're seeing online entertainment events. And I attended one last weekend, was the Princess Bride reading. And I tell you what, the first 45 minutes of that were an absolute disaster. However, it got better. What were the challenges in that event, without dissing that event, because I think they did a great job at the end of the day? You know, how could that have done better? Help the customer understand. These are the kinds of things case studies will help us do. Help us not have the event that I saw somebody else have. What's the case study that gets us there? Visual depictions of solutions. If you can explain to people what the difference between a green screen versus an LED background versus a real set, and how they look on screen and why you would choose one. Work from home presenter setups. You know, why do, you know, some of these brilliant Hollywood actors look great at home and some look horrible at home? Because they don't have a director of photography at their house. What can we do to help your presenters look good remotely? And what does that look like? Not just here's a promise of how to do it. So lots of things we can do on our website. Save all that other stuff. Maybe we'll get back there one day and you can use it again. But I do predict that when we are back into live events and in-person events, the pictures we want to use are not the pictures we have now. We're going to need new ones, and they're coming. So step one, defrag your website with all that ancient history. Get some new relevant content on there. Step two, rethink the profile of your target customer. Okay, your customer's changed. Many of you have been telling me this. Your old buyer is in a new role, or the person who is now buying streaming events is in a different department. We're dealing with, you know, it's a Zoom meeting, so the IT department for some reason is handling it, or the corporate communications department with, you know, was probably underneath HR or something like that. So we're dealing with new people who don't understand our passion for a well-executed, well-timed, well-produced audience experience. They don't appreciate all of that the way that we do, so we can't go straight there. We've got to take them along a different journey. We have to understand who these buyers are so we can put the correct journey in front of them. And we also have our traditional planners, event planners, and meeting planners who are trying to grasp the new normal, and where do they fit in? Where can they add value? How can they remain relevant? They're being asked to do things and turning and asking us to do things that they don't know how to do, and we don't know how to do it, and we're turning and asking somebody else, okay, what can we do to close all of this in and take control of the situation? Now, to better understand your buyers, you need to interview some people. I'm sorry, I don't have another way around it. Yeah, we can survey them, but at the end of the day, you'll get better information more quickly for this exercise simply by talking to the people who are already talking to you. Ask them a few simple questions. It can be in the course of your first or second conversation. How has your role changed? Okay, what kind of questions are you being asked by your internal customers? What are the new challenges as you guys approach the streaming environment? What are the things that you don't have enough information about? These will tell us a lot about what other people like them are also experiencing, and that informs us what our marketing might need to be. And then you can take that information and develop a profile of an ideal customer. There are some problems we don't want to solve, and customers who are focused on that problem are not ideal customers. That's a negative profile. But we have positive profiles that we want to build. And I will put a tool on the replay page for you, which is the Perfect Customer Profiler. If you haven't seen it before, it's just a great set of questions to help you better understand the person that you're talking to. we want to know things about our buyers. We want to know what their role is, what kind of mindset attributes they have, what are their views on things, how do they see our industry evolving, where do people fit in, what kind of choices are they willing to make, what do they think is important, what are the things that are non-negotiable to them. We want to develop as much of this information as we can so we can identify people that fit that profile so we can put more energy into them and work harder on making them part of our market share. All right. Now, I'll do a quick plug here. We have a course starting next week on Intentional Success Network called Jumpstart Your Sales Funnel. And we have a module where we develop customer profiles in a lot of detail. I'll give you a couple methodologies for doing it. I was working on that today, so it's a section I'm pretty excited about because we don't know as much as we think we do about what our current customer is experiencing. And we've got to get our head around that so that we don't misstep and offer them the wrong thing. Now, step 3 in this express marketing exercise is highlight your value. Most of our websites highlight how we do things. We have gear, we have technicians, we have this, we have that. It's all about the tactics, but that's not really where the value is created. Where you can add value is situational, okay? You have value in your business model generally based on 4 primary value considerations: convenience, focus, price, and outcomes. Now, convenience is, if you're a regional company, you focus on that region because you are convenient. Convenient can also be easy to do business with, have a low friction sales process, make it very easy for the customer to collect information so that they can make a decision or do a transaction. So reducing friction has a lot of value to certain types of customers. Focus is about specialization. It's not enough to say that we specialize in streaming events. You need to specialize in a certain kind of streaming event. It doesn't mean you don't do the others, but here's an area where our expertise is particularly valuable. Price is okay. It's okay to focus on price, especially in a down economy. You're trying to gain market share. The idea that we have the 12 months ago sales funnel, which was we wanted a really big sales funnel where we filtered out people until we got rid of all the price shoppers and people who were buying something else and the one-time buyers, and we just got to that perfect customer so we could do business with them. And we needed a big funnel because there's only a few of these. We're in a different situation, guys. Throw that funnel away. That funnel is hurting you right now. The purpose of a sales funnel right now is not to get to the core perfect customer that we get a few of. We want as many viable customers as we can get, and we want to have solutions and price points for them so that we can capture that customer and develop and grow them over time so that when we're back to the point where we're doing hybrid events, then they are still our customer. So look at what you do. Outcomes-based value is when we can talk to the customer about what the purpose of their meeting is. Let me give you a sales tip right now. If one of your questions when somebody needs a Zoom assist is ask them what's the outcome of the meeting that they're trying to do, okay, we're talking up here when their solution probably needs to be a little bit more tactical. So focus on your specialization or making good use of the client's money or making everything convenient and easy, okay, and create value where it makes the most sense. Now, I've got a chart on the screen, which regulars have probably seen this many times before, but it's very, very relevant right now. In the event world or any kind of service request, there are planned requests and there are last minute requests. And there are simple requests and there are complex requests. Look at the product mix, look at the request mix that you're getting right now. And this will give you an idea of where you need to create value. If you're getting a lot of last minute simple requests that have a really relevant process for getting that done. If you're getting a lot of Zoom assist requests, okay, and the people are asking them well in advance, give them a very simple product that they can buy that's low friction and low cost. If you're getting a lot of simple requests that are very last minute, okay, you're selling capacity, and you're going to learn to say things like, we can do your event if you can move it to Wednesday instead of Thursday, and then I can do it at that price. You know, we're selling a little bit something different when things get last minute. So study that chart and think about what you're experiencing right now, because that determines where it makes sense for you to add value. Okay. I'll remind you guys, we're going to get to some questions here in a moment, but if you can drop a question into the Q&A box, that would be great. I am going to scan the chat, but I see chat has, it's been a little busy, not super busy, so I'll be able to take a look at those now. So getting back to now, we got to focus on now. You have buyers. Your buyers have frequently asked questions. They have questions they should be asking, and they have keywords that they search for. And we need to understand what they are now, because that affects how we do marketing. You have brand, which is now, not last year's brand, not the brand you would aspire to be. You have a brand that you are right now. And there's a brand story that goes with this. The value proposition that you're selling goes inside of this brand, and your brand has to be discoverable. We have to be able to find you. Where do we need to put your brand? All of this is affected by who your buyer is. So all of these things are interconnected. And when it comes to actually selling things, you know, there's the what we sell. And if we can sell what, then we can talk about how. But what we're always focused on, especially in the dynamic environment we are right now, is what is the next step for every conversation. So look at sales as a series of conversations that marketing can support. Marketing started the conversation. Okay? Marketing will support it as we go through the sales process. This is how we build a sales funnel. These are the things that we need to pay attention to right now. The key to express marketing is letting go of who you can't be right now. Focus on who your customers need you to be. And I think we're going to have a lot more success. So I will take a few questions here in just a minute. And while you guys are posting some questions or formulating them, let me tell you about a couple of things. All right. I've got an offer for you. Very often I'm getting phone calls from people who say, hey, we've got a proposal in the client's hands and they're not getting back to us, or we were so far off the mark, I don't think we're going to be able to move the job forward. I've got an offer for you. I love talking to you. I want to do things for you to better understand what you're experiencing. And I'm offering a free proposal audit. I have a 30-point checklist that I use when I evaluate proposals. I want to see what's holding up your deal. I want to point that out to that, share that with you, help you find ways to write a better proposal, show you where you might be leaving value on the table. We kind of have to look at your whole sales process and the process of doing this. And then if you have customers who aren't responding, that's easy to find in a proposal. So let me take you through that. Let me tell you what your proposals are doing and not doing for you. Happy to share that with you. I'll give you the checklist in there. I probably have another free tool or something that might be helpful for you, but it's a way for us to get to know each other. And it's probably something that will help you immediately on the next proposal. So just scan that QR code or send me an email saying, hey, I'd like a proposal audit. We'll set up a time for you. You'll send me a proposal in advance. I'll review it for you in confidence. We'll have that conversation and you can go out there and build a better proposal. I'm very excited to make this offer. So that's a great way for us to have an introduction to one another. Now, transformation, that's what we're all going through right now. And that's what my intentional success community is about. It's about the transformation. We don't want to go through transformation with people who don't understand our reality. And I think that was really missing from our world. We don't have that. We don't have a private community in Facebook. You can't do anything in Facebook. We don't have private communities on LinkedIn or Instagram where we can actually share the transformation challenges with people who truly understand what we're going through. And we don't have the examples that will help us learn from others. So I created a community where we can do that. And it's new. We're getting started. I've got over 400 people there right now. We're ready for thousands. So come on in, check it out, and let's start having a conversation there. Again, plug for Jumpstart Your Sales Funnel starts next week. These are 5 weeks. This is a 5-week course. I do weekly live lessons in webinar format. Then we have a weekly Q&A session 2 days later. Lessons are on Tuesday. I do office hours on Thursday for that class where you can ask questions. We can share our homework, download materials, get to the recordings. Everything's on the Intentional Success Network. It's a private group. The course is a private group within that network where only the cohorts are sharing information and talking and helping each other do a better job of developing sales funnels. So I invite you to check it out. It's very much a work at your own pace. If you miss a webinar, you can watch it later. If you miss a review session, you can watch it later. I will personally review your homework in the network, give you feedback, give you a chance to do a better job at it, improve on it, as well everybody else that's taking the course with you. Every week, there's something that you can make immediate progress on. I like to take what I learn and apply it right away. So that's how I build courses for you. So the goal is to relaunch your sales pipeline in just 5 weeks. We're going to talk about buyer personas. We're going to develop lead magnets and entry point offers. We're going to create engagements models for the sales process so that we can bring that client along to the valuable outcomes that you're trying to sell them. So please take a look at that. We're running out of time, but the thing is, it's online. You can sign up at the last minute. You could even sign up a day late and then go back and watch the recording. So I'm looking forward to you. Yes, the Jumpstart Your Sales Funnel, there is a cost to that. It's $450. Go take a look at that, and it's your course forever. Okay, that course and that group and that cohort will remain there as long as that community is alive. So you'll always have access to those lessons, and you can come back and work on it later. Another way, if you're new to me, if you don't want a sales or proposal audit, you just want to have a conversation, figure out if we're a good fit together, just book an appointment with me anytime. All right, we got a couple questions coming up here. I will answer them right after this quick summary. Here's the message today. Get the out-of-date content, the out-of-date services, and the out-of-date photos off your website. Get them out of your presence, your web presence. It's okay that your social media has history. I'm not talking about deleting history, but you might want to update your banner picture. You might want to change what you put up onto your social media pages every week. I want you to focus on the space where your ideal client lives. So that means, number one, you have to know who your ideal client is. And two, you've got to know where they are. And that's where we're going to put our time and energy. If they're in meeting planners and they're living in meeting planner environments, we've got to spend time in meeting planner environments. Now, this isn't new, but it's much, much more important right now because everybody is learning differently, learning new things, and we've got to get ahead of that. Share knowledge, sell services. Many of you are afraid to share knowledge because you want people to pay for it. Let me tell you, the more you share, the more you will sell. Okay? That's the key to all of this right now. Help your buyers see themselves doing business with you. Let them have that trial experience for free, and it'll be much easier to convert them to the higher value sales that you hope to have with them. So, yeah, I'm excited about all this. All right, let's check out a couple of the questions that we have here and see what we can do. Let's see, I got a question in the chat. Can I save my old website somewhere so I don't have to lose all the content when I go to a slimmed down site? Is streaming world a term I should be using? You know, find the word that works for you. Streaming, virtual, remote learning, remote meetings. There's a lot of things out there. See the one that fits your brand profile. In terms of your website, most website environments, I work in WordPress, which is very, very common. You simply just eliminate the link to that page. You don't delete the page. You just don't have anything that actually links to it. For most of us, we're going to be taking things out of our menus, and we'll be taking internal links out of things. But if we delete pages, okay, then you're going to get 404 errors. You're going to lose some of your SEO. So the short answer is you don't need to save your old website. Just don't link to the pages that you don't want people to see right now. Now, you have some pages that you probably just need to update, your core pages. You know, there's probably 5 main pages on your website you need to update. The sub pages you need to hide or not linked to and replace them with new subpages? That's a very short answer to what is a potentially long question. Low friction, low cost. So low friction means it's easy to do business with. We all have this experience as consumers. How easy is it to use a credit card when you're buying something? That's friction. Every once in a while, I see credit card processing that is just really out of date and is very, very painful. I was signing up for a website today. The amount of friction to sign up for this website was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I was never even sure that I was actually signed up. It was so bad. So look about how easy it is to do something, and that is friction. Low friction and low cost is making the choices. It's not about selling at the lowest price. It's making the choices so easy to buy. It's what I call the Walmart theory. The Walmart theory, for those who aren't familiar with it, is when you go to Walmart to buy a product, you're going to find three products. You're going to find an extremely low cost, low featured product, which is the hallmark Walmart product. You're going to find that better featured, middle of the road product, but not a lot of supply. And then you're going to find a really expensive product that is in more supply than the product that's in the middle. So the idea is that you're either going to buy the really expensive one because you don't want to give up any features, or you're going to buy the minimally featured, the minimally cost one, which, believe it or not, they make money on. They sell more quickly. They sell in more volume. So some things to be careful. Let's see, what else we got here? One of the things we've encountered the most is so there's a lot of misunderstanding with customers about what's involved in producing an event, the pre-production on a streaming event. You've got to talk to presenters, you've got, having computers in the green room and all the setup it takes to make it all work. Make sure you bill for your time. And Joe's making a comment here, make sure you bill for your time. You need to educate your customers about this and why all of this is valuable and important. One of the things that keeps our customers or your customers from understanding how important that is that your website is saying something else is important. Okay, so if your website says we rent equipment, I was talking with an owner the other day, he was talking about pricing his studio and he wanted to price it in terms of what the rental equipment would cost. And I said, that has nothing to do with how studios are priced, right? You're pricing capacity and capability for time. And that's different than renting equipment. So make sure that you understand what the customer's reality is and you put things in front of them in those terms. And honestly, if I hear one more salesperson complain that customers don't know what they want, I'm going to kill them. It's awesome that customers don't know what they want. That is our greatest opportunity. What's frustrating is that some of you don't know the answer, okay? Somebody who's not sure what they need and doesn't know what to ask for is a boon to our industry. This is where we should excel. Make sure your marketing is answering those questions so that they ask better questions and they're willing to listen to you, that your credibility exudes in what you've taught people before they ever have a conversation with you. Another question here. All right. Some of you have very long questions. All right, so I've got a bunch of studios set up. I got LED screens, lights, blah, 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 scenic everywhere. But am I muddying the water too much if I simultaneously try and market to bands that might want to utilize the setup for streaming? They're two very different uses. They're obviously two very different audiences. So let me answer the question. If you have a studio and your studio is big enough, it's also a rehearsal space or it's also a music streaming space, it's a studio. What's different is your customers, okay? So if you're going to market to customers which are promoters or acts that want to monetize or simply share an event and pay you to do that, that is a customer and that's a segment, that's a persona that you're going to market to. You can market that exact same space to a corporate event planner or buyer or communications expert, okay? Just use the right message to the right audience. And if I come to your website and I'm an I'm an act, and I don't know where to go, then that's a failing in your marketing. So make sure your website helps guide me about where to go. And I may even think that it's a completely different space than the one that you're showing over here. So no, you're not muddying the water unless you're selling the space instead of talking to the customer, okay? Whatever Studio C can look like this, this, or this, that's going to muddy the water. We have an environment for you that will do what you need. That's very direct. That's very customer focused. So thank you for that question. There's probably a blog post in there somewhere. Another question. If a client chooses another company and not us for their virtual event, how do you recommend following up post-event in a non-threatening way to see how their event went? Okay, I like that question. That's a great question. My standard rule of thumb when I don't win an event, if I'm the salesperson, is I'm not going to cut the customer off. I'm going to thank them for that because chances are you are second place and something could happen, especially right now. I want to make sure they know that we're there to support them in any way possible. As the event goes on, if they have questions or concerns, please reach out to me. And when I reach out to them again, it's just the normal course of reaching out. The mistake that we will make is we're reaching out to see how their event went. What I'm reaching out for is their next event. They will probably tell you about the last one, but if you call for the purpose of understanding what happened in their last event, there's no reason for them to talk to you. If you're calling to help understand about their next event or offer them something that will help their next event, okay, or some new development or some new idea or some new case study, then they have that's a more compelling call to action to have a conversation with you. So for those of you who are good at building relationships, focus on the relationship. Don't worry about the transaction. You didn't get this job, keep the relationship going. Jobs are going to change hands. I would say probably more than 50% of the events that we're doing right now are not successes. The client's not happy and they will probably choose someone else if they could. Okay, that's, way down from, the 80% good that we generally experience in an industry. And I'm probably being generous by saying only 50% of our events are going a little bit south. It's probably much higher than that. So there's going to be a lot of transition, a lot of transitory customers. So just keep that relationship going and focus on the future, focus on helping, focus on sharing information. Thank you for that question. Yes, somebody's gonna stop breathing. You're not suggesting pulling staging live events for our websites, are you? Yes, I absolutely am suggesting that. Okay, anybody can do staging and live events. Okay, it might be buried in there, but the fact is there is no staging live events market right now. So all that is doing is muddying up, to the earlier question, that is muddying up your value proposition. Okay, the fact is, people know you can do that, but if that's what you lead with, then you're saying streaming events aren't important. So yeah, hide it, bury it, put it 3 links down, okay? But if that is your identity and you believe it's your identity, the customer is going to see that and you're not going to be credible for them for the live event you're doing, or, and this is worse, they're going to pay you less money. The companies that are still staging live events, companies who do streaming, are arguably getting much less money to do the same streaming event as their competitors are presenting themselves as streaming producers. Okay, there's a difference in value perception with what you lead with. So yeah, I am suggesting, not everybody's going to take my advice, and I get that you pull staging and live events from your website if your focus is streaming. Another question. I'm going to get an email on that one, I just know. What percentage of a complex hybrid meeting job could be billed to pre-production? Hybrid event is hard to say. If we take a complex streaming event, okay, look at the work. 80% of it is pre-production. The easiest part of what we do is the actual event. It's a 2-hour stream that took you 6 weeks to produce because there's 100 recorded segments. So once you make it a hybrid event, when we get to that point, or see more of that, where we're really doing hybrid conferences, they're two different animals. So you still got the streaming event, which is a billable entity, of which 80% is still pre-production. And then you've got the in-person live event, which is 20% pre-production and 80% on-site. And they're two separate pieces to the same puzzle. So you're going to bill and present them separately. Now, we will look at the event saying, oh, here's $100,000 of streaming and $100,000 of production. It's a $200,000 event. As a business person, as a math person, and your advisor, I'm going to go, here's a $100,000 streaming event where you had 60% gross profit, and here's a $100,000 live event where you had 30% gross profit. Those $200,000 do not mean the same thing. So lumping them together and saying I have a $200,000 event is unfair to both events in terms of what they contribute to your business. So that's a little bit deeper answer than a marketing answer, but I think it's very important to understand. Another question here. We're getting a lot of third-party meeting planners trying to sell our services that have no idea how to sell them. Yeah, no kidding. How can we convince them to bring us into the end client proposal to win the project? So this is a channel problem. So the selling channel that we have is most of us are not working directly with the economic buyer. We're not, you know, the CMO is not approving our purchase order, right? Or the CEO or the CFO. We're dealing with a sub-supplier or even a sub-supplier in there. Those third-party meeting planners are those gatekeepers or that go-between who have been hiring us to do live events. And customers are coming to them saying, hey, can you put this streaming event together? And they still want to hire us. Well, obviously, they're no better at talking about streaming events than they were talking about the technology and live events. So we have the same problem we've always had, but the danger is much greater because we're also not very good at streaming events yet. Here's my recommendation to you. I would put a lot of energy into arming and educating that third-party meeting planner to be more effective in presenting things. And I would provide them branded material with my brand on it, my copyright on it, for them to explain to the customer how things work. And even though they may have multiple suppliers that they're considering for the streaming part, their education is going to come from you. I understand why they don't want to put you in front of their customer, because then they won't be creating any value anymore. The fact of the matter is, most of us should be replacing third-party meeting planners. Event coordinators, event planners, maybe not, but a lot of meeting planners aren't qualified to sell and manage and produce streaming events. So, but the best choice, in my opinion, is to do what you can to make them look good. We processed this on a call with a team the other day, and they talked about a particular persona individual. They go, oh yeah, we have several clients who are just like this. So we made that a persona. And the solution was change the person's title. Sit them down and say, hey, I know you want to go out and sell this, but you're presenting yourself as a meeting planner. We're recommending that you present yourself as a streaming producer. And oh, by the way, here's your crown. You're now a streaming producer. And give them a title. Give them a title so that they will look better bringing you in, because they are still the producer. I'm bringing in my technical team. I'm bringing in my production team. I'm bringing in my content team. And give them a title or a role or position where you can win and they can continue to look good. So thank you for that question. Let's see. All right. Well, I'm not seeing a ton of new questions here, and we've had a great webinar. My voice is giving out. So I want to thank all of you for being here. This, of course, is being recorded. We'll have it uploaded shortly. You'll get an email, hopefully, at the end of the day that says where you can reach that. And I look forward to any other questions that you might have. And please join us over on Intentional Success Network. This will be posted there as well. Content is shared there. All the handouts are shared there. And oh, by the way, join me tomorrow for office hours at 10 a.m. Central Time in a Zoom meeting so I can see your faces and we can have a conversation. So thank you everybody for being here. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the questions. Be safe, be well, go sell something.